Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Big Lee and this week I want to talk about my favourite bit of Waterloo. So this week I want to answer a question that I got way back in February, so apologies to Andy Shaw for taking so long to get to your question. So Andy asked, if you were going to wargame one part of Waterloo, which would you choose? Now the Battle of Waterloo is one of those engagements that is really hard to bring to the table in its entirety. So you inevitably end up having to, if you're going to wargame the period, you inevitably need to break it down into parts of the battle. Unless you're going to play some, a ball game or something like that. So this could mean focusing on Hugament or La Haye Saint, or even just focusing on a particular time period rather than the whole day. So before I try answering this question, I have to start by saying that I've never collected or painted Napoleonic figures, and while I occasionally enjoy playing the period with the rejects, I have a little desire to collect the period myself. So it's fair to say that I'm not an expert in this period, although I have read several books about the Battle of Waterloo. What sort of war game would it be if I hadn't? So I think that my choice is not only going to be a common choice, but it's going to be chosen based on the limited reading and games that I've played over the years. So as indicated, my choice is going to be rather boring, but I have to say that if I was going to bring any part of the Battle of Waterloo to the table, it would be the fight for the farm at La Haye Saint. There's so much high drama, hard fighting and bravery associated with the battle for this collection of buildings, it's really hard to ignore it. This small yet strategically crucial farmhouse became the focal point of intense fighting on the 18th of June 1815, and its significance in both the historical and gaming contexts, I don't think it can be overstated. Located in the centre of the Allied line, just in front of Wellington's main position, its possession was critical to both the French and the Allied armies. It was a critical defensive point for the British, and if captured by the French could potentially have unravelled Wellington's entire defensive strategy. And for the French, its importance was quickly recognised, resulting in repeated assaults throughout the day to try to seize it. The farmhouse was garrisoned by the King's German Legion, a group of highly disciplined and motivated troops who were determined to hold the position at all costs. Now the Battle for La Haye Saint is characterised by intense, close quarters combat and has often been recreated on the games table. I've seen it many times at many different shows. The French forces, commanded by Marshal Ney, launched waves of infantry and cavalry attacks against the farm, while the King's German Legion defended it with absolutely everything they had. The fighting was brutal, with the defenders holding out for hours despite running low on ammunition and suffering heavy casualties. And eventually the French did manage to capture the farmhouse, but by that time it was too late to really influence the outcome of the battle. Wellington's forces were able to hold the line long enough for the Prussians to arrive, inevitably leading to Napoleon's defeat. Now I've seen La Haye Saint depicted on the games table many times. This is because it's often a microcosm of the larger Battle of Waterloo, making it an ideal scenario for recreation on a smaller table. The confined nature of the battlefield, combined with the distinct phases of the struggle, provide a variety of tactical challenges for both players, whichever rules you use. Now one of the most interesting aspects of wargaming La Haye Saint is the focus on terrain and scale. The farmhouse, with its surrounding walls and outbuildings, provides a rich environment for the skirmish level encounters. It looks good on the table, and the terrain plays a critical role as the attackers must navigate around open ground under fire before reaching the walls, while the defenders can take advantage of cover and strong defensive positions. So in answer to Andy, I think that the wargaming the Battle for La Haye Saint would be my top choice. The battle within a battle offers an interesting combination of strategic importance, tactical diversity and intense, desperate fighting that characterise the larger battle raging around it. For players it offers a rich and challenging experience where historical authenticity meets strategic gameplay. It's for this reason that I think it makes for a particularly interesting scenario to play on the tabletop, and well within the reach of most gamers in terms of the number of figures involved and the scale of it. But as I indicated at the beginning, I'm neither an expert on or a regular player of the period, so do you think I've made the right choice? What is your favourite part of the battle to refight on the tabletop, and why? As always, I would love to hear what you think in the comments below. So not much of a hobby update this week. I have been busy, as you'll see in a moment. I've been trying to do a little bit of reading this week, and I've been doing lots and lots of writing, something I haven't been able to do for weeks. So that really is the crux of my hobby update. However, on the Workbench side, I have been very busy. I've not done any painting this week, but instead I've been prepping and mounting my new 1066 Armies ready for painting. A wonderfully weighty parcel arrived on Monday from Bacchus, and inside were my new Saxons, Viking and Norman armies in glorious 6mm. There was very little cleaning required on these models, and barely any mould lines or flashing to be removed from them. Most of the prep has involved trimming little bits of excess metal from the base strips, to be honest. And once I'd sorted the models into their types, I've been mounting the models required onto lolly sticks ready for priming. So I've been working out what models I need for how many bases and so on, so that I've only mounted the units I need. And this latter stage has taken a few days to do, but once they're all done, I'm going to take them out in the garden and give them their prime. I've got to wait for a dry day and a not too cold to do that particular job. I don't want to ruin priming them, and I think I'm going to go with a brown primer, which is how I've done a lot of my ancient stuff before. It just seems to work well with this scale, mutes the colours down a little bit for this particular period, and then once I've block painted the models, I then give them an ink wash. So I'm going to do that priming, and then these models are ready for the painting challenge in December. And yes, I'm fully aware that I've started really early, but I went into last year's painting challenge having not done a lot of preparation, and I just didn't really catch up from being behind at the beginning of the challenge. So this year I'm determined to have everything primed and ready to go well in advance. So as I indicated earlier, I have been trying to do a little bit of reading, and in particular Armies of the Vikings, AD 793 to 1066, written by Gabriel Esposito and published by Pen and Sword. This offers an in-depth exploration of the Viking military, focusing on the transformative period in European history. This book is an excellent addition to the study of Viking warfare, providing both historical context and detailed analysis of the Viking armies, their composition, tactics and impact on the medieval world. Now, the book's strength lies in its thorough research and accessible presentation, and Esposito, a noted expert on military history, meticulously examines the Viking era from the first recorded raids in 793 AD through to the end of the Viking Age in 1066. The opening chapters set the stage by discussing the geographical and social landscape of Scandinavia and gave rise to these formidable warriors. And Esposito explains how the Vikings' seafaring skills and martial prowess were integral to their success, setting up a nuanced understanding of their military achievements. Now, one of the book's most compelling features is its detailed analysis of Viking military organisation. Esposito breaks down the different types of forces employed by the Vikings, including the raiding parties, larger armies and the elite groups such as the Huscarls. And he also delves into the weaponry and armour used by the Vikings, supported by illustrations and photographs that help readers visualise the equipment. And this section is particularly valuable for enthusiasts and scholars interested in the material culture of the Viking Age. Now, I find the book to be very well structured, with chapters that address both specific campaigns and broader themes. Esposito examines notable conflicts such as the battles against the Anglo-Saxons and the Frankish Empire, providing detailed accounts of these engagements and their strategic implications. His analysis of Viking tactics and battle strategies is insightful, showcasing how the Vikings adapted their methods to different opponents and terrains. And one of the standout aspects of Armies of the Vikings is its use of primary sources. Esposito draws on a variety of historical texts which include sagas, chronicles and archaeological findings to provide a comprehensive view of Viking military practices. This approach not only lends credibility to the narrative but also enriches the reader's understanding of the historical context. However, the book is not without its limitations. While the historical analysis is robust, some readers may find the focus on military details somewhat overwhelming if they're not already familiar with the broader historical and cultural background of the Viking Age. Additionally, the book's reliance on certain sources might lead to a somewhat skewed perspective, as the portrayal of Viking warfare can sometimes be influenced by contemporary biases in the historical record. In terms of presentation, Pen and Sword have produced a visually appealing book with high quality maps, illustrations and photographs that complement the text. These visual elements are invaluable for readers seeking to grasp the spatial and material aspects of military Viking operations. Now, in conclusion, Armies of the Vikings is well researched and detailed a well researched and detailed examination of Viking military forces. It's a significant contribution, I think, to the field of military history and Viking studies, offering valuable insights into the strategies, organisation and impact of Viking armies. And while it may be more suited to readers with a specific interest in military history or the Viking Age, its comprehensive approach and rich detail make it an important resource for anyone looking to understand the formidable nature of Viking warfare. And as a wargamer, I found the colour plates of reenactors wearing Viking dress to actually be really useful. There's lots of examples in there I can use when painting up miniatures, and that's one of the main reasons I bought this particular book. So that's it for this week. As always, please join the conversation in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share. And if you want to keep up to date with weekly content from this channel, please tap the bell notification, and of course please don't overlook the community tab icon, because I often post little pieces of information and photographs in between videos. So until next week, stay safe, keep gaming and of course keep rolling high.